What's going on, guys? So we're about to take the RV out, and I wanted to show you guys something that you may not know about grease guns. So oftentimes you're going to have greasable Zerks on your suspension and various other components on your RV. And typically a greasable Zerk will require you to pop a grease gun fitting onto the end of it to be able to pump some grease into it. Now, in many cases, your grease gun might get stuck on the Zerk. So I bought these really cool 90-degree elbows. It's made by Lock and Lube, and it snaps onto the end of your grease gun so you can get to some of these Zerks that are behind your tires, as opposed to always having to position all of your grease Zerks on the inside, so you have to crawl way under there. So I bought this, and of course it got stuck on one of my grease Zerks. It always happens. And in the process of pulling it off, I was like, you know what? This probably happens to a lot of other people, and they just don't know how to deal with it. It gets stuck, and you're yanking on it and yanking on it. It has to make a really tight fit, and it also has to be a really sealed fit in order for the pressure of the grease coming through the grease gun to actually go into the Zerk versus just make a mess on the outside of the Zerk. And that's really where you want that tight seal, but again, it can be difficult sometimes to remove it off of the Zerk. And what most people may not know is that, I don't know about all grease gun fittings, but at least on Lock and Lube, they put this end piece right here. And this piece can actually screw down or loosen to either increase pressure on the inside of this or decrease pressure. So I always have it tight like this whenever I'm putting grease in, but if it gets stuck and I can't just pop it right off of the Zerk, I'll loosen it. Sometimes I'll reach a pair of pliers underneath there. I'll loosen it about 1/8 of an inch, and then it pops right off. It relieves the pressure off of the end of this. Also, be sure you don't have pressure in the actual tube, otherwise you'll pop this off and grease will go everywhere as well. But greasing your RV suspension and other components is a vital part of maintaining your RV, and I think it's something a lot of folks don't often do. Every suspension component will likely have some area to be greased. That said, though, when we got our Forest River Surveyor, the factory equalizers did not have a grease Zerk on them. If I had replaced them with Dexter equalizers, even the standard one with no rubber bushing, they do have a grease Zerk at the very top. But the ones that I removed from here had no grease Zerk, and there were nylon bushings with no greasable Zerks going into any of the bushings either. When I upgraded to the Lippert Equiflex on here, it gave me grease Zerks everywhere. I got grease Zerks at the end of all of my bolts. I have grease Zerks everywhere that I need to be able to grease, and I put them on the inside, but you can even see the grease Zerk right there. I didn't need to put them on the inside because they're easily accessible with the tires on with this unit, and I wasn't thinking about that, but they're still not difficult to grease. I do have to crawl underneath here to get to them. On the fifth wheel, when they're installed from the factory, and I think most people probably realize this, if you have the heavy-duty shackle straps greasable wet bolts, the Zerk will be facing this way, which means the tire could cause interference, so you can't get a standard straight grease coupler on. So picking up something like this can be really, really helpful. And the best part of this is you simply pop your current grease gun onto it. You don't have to unscrew it and put thread sealant on and reseal this onto it. This simply pops on when you need it. You can pull that down, and it pops off when you don't need it, which is really, really nice, especially if you have the Lock and Lube system. But yeah, I just wanted to share this video because I know there's a lot of folks out there who probably struggle at times with grease Zerks, trying to figure out exactly how they're going to get this back off when it gets stuck. And I know there's a lot of folks who will really work at it until they, in some cases, break the Zerk off of their bolt. And that's never a good thing, especially with these wet bolts, because the Zerk is part of the bolt. You can't just unthread it and screw a new one in like you can on a tractor or other areas where you might have grease Zerks. So again, very, very cool product. But yeah, this right here, you just simply unscrew it. You might need a pair of pliers to do it if it's stuck on there, about to there, and it should just pop right off. Okay, so upon closer examination of a grease Zerk on one of these wet bolts, so it just threads on. It's an 8mm socket is all you need to take it on and off. And I'm hoping that I can simply remove these and replace these with Zerks that are angled. So let's see what I have here. That looks like it's going to be the same size. Tightening, it's going to be a little bit different story. I'll probably have to use an 8mm wrench simply because I won't be able to go over it like this with the end of the socket. But by doing it this way, I'll have a bit of an angle, so long as they don't rotate out of the way. That could be a problem. So during the course of travel, if the Zerk rotates, which I don't think they do, because this part right here is pressed into the bracket, but if it does rotate, it would be difficult to get to. That said, it also depends on how it tightens and where it ends when it tightens. So if it tightens like this, and that's where it ends, and that's perfect, but if it's on the other side like that, that might be an issue. But yeah, these things do come off, and you can replace them if you need to, which is good news, because if you break one, it's good to know that you have that capability to replace it if you need to. But there's the direct replacement for it. So we'll try to put one of these on. Let's see how that works. Okay, so I loosened it a little bit already before I started recording, and they are 8mm, but the replacement is going to be a 9mm. So you'll be able to get it off with an 8mm. And there's the Zerk. And we're going to replace it with one of these. You can see the disc brake plumbing down here. Did a video on that a long time ago, how we cleaned it up. Somebody from Dexter actually came to do it. So this is the problem, if you see what I mean. The Zerk is right now facing the direction I don't want it to face. So let's see if we can tighten that and get it the direction we want to face. If not, it'll make it actually even more difficult. So that is not going to work. It needs to actually be facing me. So I don't know if this is going to be something I want to do, because you can't tighten it much more than it is. And so far, it is not tightening in the direction I need it to. Which, if it were, boy, it would make life a lot easier. So let's play around with this and see what I can do. Okay, so this is the Zerk I was messing with. I grabbed a different Zerk, and that one actually fits perfect. So that's the exact direction I want it to face. So it's really just playing around with it. I gotta go get a different wrench, I think. But there we go. I can easily get a grease gun on that. And that'll fix a lot of problems, or at least make things a lot easier. So all your grease Zerks threadings aren't going to be exact, and if you have a bunch of them, you can kind of play around with one until you find one that's going to fit the angle you're looking for, hopefully. Might as well check if my lock and lube is going to work on this thing. So let's... That works perfectly. Okay, so we are just wrapping up. It is 98 degrees outside with 118 degree heat index right now. So it is hot. All of them went in perfect. As you can see, one right there that's greased. Got one right there that's greased. This one's greased over here. The other side is all done too. This one right here is one of two that gave me an issue. Whenever I was taking out the old Zerk, it seemed like it was coming out just fine, and it seemed like it had come out just fine. But then when I tried to put the new Zerk in, it wouldn't go in, almost like it was cross-threaded. I didn't know what was going on until I explored a little deeper, and I noticed that half the threads of the original Zerk were broken off inside of the wet bolt. So I had to use a little screw extractor. It actually came out really easy once I saw that, put this in, and I was able to pull it out by hand. So that Zerk is perfect. Everything's greasing up real nice. You see it squeezing out of the back there. The other side, 3 of the 4 went really, really well, except for the one right there, right up top there. And I can't get it to back out. I can't get the original Zerk off. So I'll probably need to cut it off and then use an extractor to extract the threads out. But I've tried vice grips. I mean, I tried everything. I really got onto it with some vice grips. After the socket wouldn't work, it was just spinning on there. And no matter how much pressure I put on it, and seemingly more than enough to unscrew any of the other ones, that one didn't come off. So still working on that one. But aside from that, everything else is done. Good upgrade to do. Just position them in a way that you can get to them once they're on there, and you should be good to go. But super, super affordable upgrade if you don't want to get that adapter for the end of your grease gun. And even that adapter poses some problems. I stopped using it because every time I was using it, I was having a problem with getting it off. It was greasy, and trying to actually unscrew the end to loosen it wasn't working in every instance. I'd have to go in and get a pair of pliers and unscrew it. So this is probably the better route to go. all of the ones that I put on are pumping grease in perfectly fine. I'm always going to carry an extra set of these or a few of these with me though, just, you know, in case on the road something breaks or you need to replace it. I'll also carry some straight ones versus these angled ones just in case again. Anyways guys, I'll throw a link in the description if these are something you're interested in. Do not over tight them. They will strip out very, very easily. You just want to put them on until they're snug. But yeah, good upgrade to do on your RV, and one that makes life a lot easier if you are routinely maintaining your suspension components and greasing them appropriately. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.